Hi, everybody. Welcome to My Other's Keeper. I want to welcome my friend Sharon of Surviving Together. She does excellent an excellent channel about surviving sexual assault and
And or
everything from
significant trauma.
there we go, and or significant trauma. There we go. And yeah, we are survivors. We are surviving together, and together is the best way to survive, not on your own, right? So, yes, so
Surviving
that's what
together,
Sharon
never
does.
alone.
That's right. Yes, she has a lovely theme song that was written and put together by our friend Misha.
Yeah.
And
Amazing.
Misha's actually looking at putting one together for me. So we will
Awesome.
see. Yes, and Todd is here. Crystal's here.
Hello,
Hello.
Todd.
Yes. And eventually Todd will be able to come on and we will talk art. We will talk
Ooh,
his resin.
yes.
So, yes, I'm really looking forward to that.
He made a
So, yeah.
skull for me, for my son,
Oh,
as a kind of a
oh.
silly graduation present type of thing, just but the colors, Todd, the colors, he loves it. He's mounting it on this dashboard in his car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he loves it. Absolutely loves it. So, hey, when he gets it
That's
installed, I'll take a
perfect.
picture for you.
Oh, that's perfect. What, like, how would it be installed? Is there like a platform or something, or
I'm
how's
not
it
sure
done?
how he's going to adhere it to the dash,
Mm,
but like he got a shifter. His shifter is a skull,
mm, mm-hmm.
because he has a
Yep,
manual.
yep.
And he loves it because, he knows nobody can steal it because very few people know how to drive a manual.
Well, and the around here at least, the whole idea is that women can't drive a manual transmission. It's like, dude, I learned on a manual transmission. It's called standard for a reason. It was the
Hmm.
standard by which you could drive. So, yeah,
Yeah, so no, he absolutely loves it. So definitely, how to
yep,
drive a stick shift.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
most of the older people. And my dad, we asked him to could he drive it from here to there type thing. He goes, I think it's been about 40 years since I've driven one of those, so
But
maybe
it's
not.
muscle memory.
Yeah,
It's muscle
exactly.
memory. You
Well, you don't
never,
want my
once you've
mom.
learned it, you never forget.
My mom never took her foot off the clutch. She slid her foot this way, so you'd always hear the clutch going. "Drrrr." Yeah, she
Ugh,
was
it's hard
pretty.
on a clutch.
Yeah, she was. She was.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
we had several manuals growing up.
No doubt. Well, you'd have to if she's riding the clutch the whole time.
Yeah,
Oh, man. Yeah.
horrible.
I learned how to change a clutch
Oh,
because,
really?
oh, yeah, because my my mom and I, we shared a car. And when I say we shared, I didn't get my license till I was 18 and ready to leave home.
Oh, okay.
Um, I lived in a place where I could ride a bike to anywhere I needed to go. It was a
Oh,
small,
that's yeah.
just a really nice small town. Um, there was very low crime. That same town is now high crime because gangs have moved in,
Oh,
and yeah, it's not
yikes.
something I would recommend. So, which is unfortunate. But the town we live in now is like 700 people.
Oh
There
my
was
gosh.
5,000. At its biggest, it was 5,000. It's probably now about three.
You're in a
Um,
teeny tiny town now.
I am in a neighborhood, is what I'm in. So
Yeah, seriously. A large
there are more people.
subdivision.
Absolutely, there are more people in any given shopping center at any given time than live in my town.
Oh, that
So
is
yeah,
hilarious. That's hilarious.
but I love it. I absolutely love it because it is safe. It is close enough to the city. My husband works in the city. Um, he works half time from home, half time in the city.
Okay.
So it's a perfect little blend there. It's wonderful. And so anything I need, I can just go there, and anything I don't need, I can just stay home and enjoy my beautiful yard.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, on
Very
Facebook,
awesome.
anybody who's got my Facebook, my Others Keeper on Facebook, can see some of the flowers that I've taken pictures of in my garden, and I just love it.
Were you the
Yeah,
one who
it's
has the
wonderful.
poppy field?
I will. It's not a field. It's about a 8 foot by 4 foot oval garden. But no, I didn't post any poppies yet this year.
I'm
I
not
would
a
have posted
Facebook
last
person.
year.
I'm never on Facebook, but
Mm.
I got an email that said I had some notifications on something or whatever. So I decided
Hmm.
to check it out, and it let me in through these. And somebody had posted out their back window this entire
Oh,
field of poppies. I mean, literally
really?
this field and poppies. And then there was, I'm not sure what other flowers mixed in. There was some light purple lavender flower that was mixed in the whole thing. It was beautiful.
Right. Okay. I was going to download some of my pictures from my garden, but I should have done that before. Anyway, I can do that another time. But
No
if you're
worries.
interested in seeing my flowers, go to my Facebook page, and it is just My Other's Keeper. It's on Facebook, easy to find, and
Perfect.
you'll see my flowers.
Awesome.
And in the little town where I live, the yards are about the size of two full-sized yards in the city.
Oh,
So
dang.
it's oh, so nice.
That
We've
would
got
be,
loads of trees. We've got loads of space. Yeah.
I had my houses in Kalamazoo. I had big spaces here. I'm in a
Hmm.
condo here, so I've got they instead of grass in the back where our pieces, they brick patioed it, which is fine. And then there's like literally like a postage stamp size because I'm in a corner unit. So I
Yeah.
only have this one little space, and there's two trees that are right there. So it's like there's nothing I can do with it really.
Right.
So,
Yes. Well, Crystal, I finally got to go to Crystal's place.
oh,
This
cool.
last weekend, I went to another province, and I went to Alberta, and I went to the city of Calgary to meet my new sister. I'll put up a photo here. I am the one on the right. My older sister that I grew up with is the one on the left, and the new sister we just found about a year ago is the one in the center.
That's so
And
cute.
she lives in Australia, but she's in Canada for about 3 weeks
Oh,
just to visit
wow.
and that kind of stuff. So it was just this really short window of time.
Yeah, that's
And had I not gone to
awesome.
Calgary, I may have only been able to spend an evening with her.
Yeah,
Whereas in Calgary, I was able to spend a good 2 full days getting to know her.
awesome.
Yeah, connecting and learning a little bit more about each other. The T-shirts that you see here say "Sister Trip cheaper than therapy." Let's see. Oh, you can't even read it. Cheaper than therapy 2024. Anyways, so they indulged me. They yes, I am the needy littlest sister. Um, but
And now you have
yeah,
somewhere to go when you go to Australia. That's so
absolutely.
cool.
Brisbane. Yes, I have a
Oh,
friend who lives in Tasmania, and I have a sister in Brisbane.
that's so
So
cool. I might be
yeah.
staying on your sister's couch then.
Ooh, when are you headed down there?
I have no idea. It's just on my bucket
Oh,
list. Yeah,
same. Yeah, I
yeah.
would love to go to Australia at some point.
Me too. And
So,
I am a scuba diver, so
oh,
I'd
are
love to.
you?
Yeah, I'd love to dive the Great Barrier Reef. It's dying at such a quick rate right now, so
Oh,
I'd like to
really?
see it before it's pretty much all gone. And
Yeah.
I want to see New Zealand really bad.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are just, if only everything wasn't trying to kill you there,
Yeah.
I think I'd have an easier time. Oh, snakes and spiders and all sorts of evil things. But yeah, no, I really just want to go visit my sister and got me. Oh, and Todd says me three. He wants to go down to Australia too.
There you go.
Um,
Yeah, I know so many
yeah.
people who are just like, "Hey,
Oh,
party
I know,
trip if we
right?
could afford the airfare." That's my biggest thing.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
But I hear it's a
So
lot
yeah,
cheaper to fly out from Canada than it is from the US. Janet
really,
was telling me that.
that's
Yeah,
unusual. Usually, flying anywhere from Canada is really expensive. Flying across Canada is more expensive than flying from where I am to where you are. So
that's
I'm in Saskatchewan, you're in Michigan.
yeah.
So it's cheaper to fly to Michigan than it is to fly from Vancouver to the other side of the country. And you lose a day. That's right, Todd. You lose a day.
Can you believe that so I'm in the I'm only an hour from Lake Michigan, so I'm on the west side of the state.
Hmm. Hmm.
But so let's say I drove to Detroit, a couple miles, big airport, right?
Yeah,
Cannot get a flight from Detroit to Toronto. There are none.
really. That would
Isn't
be
that
like a
bizarre?
1 hour flight.
Exactly. Except for there's a little charter service that's like Toronto something or other, but it makes like 15 stops. So
It's a
it takes
commuter. Yeah,
Yeah, so it takes you like 15 hours to get there. And I'm like, I can drive in 5.5.
exactly.
I could
Yeah.
not believe you could not get from Detroit to Toronto.
How
Huh.
about buses or trains? Would those be at all feasible?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I've never looked into those
Okay.
if they go up that way. Yeah, I just one time I was looking at the flights and I was dumbfounded that there wasn't one that went there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you're right, Todd. It definitely sounds like a puddle jumper.
Oh,
Yep,
yeah. Yep.
absolutely.
By the amount of times that it was stopping, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, thank you. I'll drive if I go. I mean, I've been a
Yeah.
couple of times, but I was contemplating visiting someone. So we are looking at
Right.
the quickest ways. I thought, I'll drive over, spend a night with Jen or something, and then,
Mhm.
just hop a short little flight to Toronto.
Yeah, yeah, just a little across.
Yeah. Nope.
You can get flights from Windsor to Toronto. So if you just go across the bridge from Detroit
Oh,
to Windsor, you can get from Windsor to Toronto.
okay.
And if not by flight, you can by bus, and it's like a however long bus trip. So you don't have to drive it. But yeah, my
That's
daughter's taken the bus to Toronto a couple times.
that's interesting. The
Yeah.
the thing for me to get to Windsor is about 3 hours. So
Mm-hmm.
because with Michigan where I am, I can go like this and come up through Port Huron,
Oh,
um,
okay.
and go
Yeah.
like that instead of this would be this way and then up. Um,
Mm,
so only 2 more hours and I'm there. But it's a
right.
nice not having to drive it. But
It is nice. Yeah. Just don't sit down back by the toilet.
mm-mm.
Just, yeah.
It's like going down in the basement right now with the cat litter. I'm like, here,
Oh.
son, clean that, clean that.
And it's really hot right now where you're at, so that's just going to make it worse. Your basement is at
Thankfully,
all.
the basement and the main floor is cool. It's just you you come up the stairs. I've got stairs and then a little landing and then another little set of stairs. You get to
Hmm.
that landing and it's like the break point. You know, what do they call that in the
Like a
water?
climate change. The dupe.
What
Oh, okay.
what
Yeah.
do they call that in the water?
Breakwater. Yeah.
Um, when you the thermal climb when you break through
Ah,
the thermal climb, it's when the temperature changes when you're in the lake or sea or whatever, and
wow.
it's just like that. It's 10 degree, it will jump 10 to 20 degrees up here. It's amazing. My AC will not get to my third floor, and the third floor is mine.
Wow.
It's my office and my bedroom and my bathroom, so, and my son
Oh,
has the
yeah.
basement, so
Yeah. And then the middle floor you share.
exactly.
Or
It's the living room and the dining room and the kitchen.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Itty bitty kitchen. I
Oh,
die for a
yeah.
bigger kitchen.
Yeah. Well, my kitchen's a reasonable size. I was just telling Sharon, otherwise known as Mac, that where I live, the town where I live is about 700 people ish. So there's more people in any shopping mall at any given time than live in my town. And the yards we have are about the same size as two standard city house yards. Because the houses in the city are what 18 inches apart, like literally within maybe
Dang.
3 feet. Like
That's like
they are close
that's
together.
like Chicago.
Yes, exactly. Everything
Yeah.
is so close together, and their backyards are maybe, I don't know, 25, 50 feet at the
Mm.
most.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just insane. So our yard is 70 feet by 110 or something like that.
Nice.
So it's a big space, gorgeous. I would love to be able to, actually I should check out and see if I can at some point do my show out from my backyard,
Yeah.
and that would be fun.
Yeah,
I think
actually.
that'd be really nice to be able to do that. So, oh, Philly too. Oh wow.
Oh, for
Okay.
the yeah,
For the
yeah.
housing?
Uh, Funny, Todd and I actually lived in Philly at the same time in the
Oh,
early
cool.
90s. Never met, of
Oh.
course, but we just discovered that it was like, oh, I lived there for about 6 months and he was there for
Hmm.
about a year period. So it was funny. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yep. Were you in North Philadelphia, born and raised?
Me?
No? Yeah.
No, I moved every 3 years growing up.
Same here.
You did you?
Yeah.
Most
Yeah, we
people
moved
assume
a lot.
military, but it wasn't. My dad was with General Motors, and so
Oh, my dad was just an alcoholic.
oh, well, yeah, see, my ex, exactly, my ex, told you the same story, and,
Yep.
yeah, they tend to a little bit transient. But no,
Mhm.
I lived, everywhere, I was there as part of college. Oh, almost 2
Mm.
years, I'm sorry, I thought a year, he was almost 2 years.
He was born in Iowa. Okay.
Okay, I lived in Iowa for a while. He had moved out before I think I moved there
Okay.
or something like that. I lived in Sioux City for 3 years.
Okay.
So, and that's in the northwest corner. Like
I don't know my
on
American geography very well.
it's like you can go Nebraska this way. If you went
Mhm.
west, the state line's right there, or you can go
Mhm.
north and it's South Dakota's line right
Mm.
there. I mean, it is on the corner and on the state lines there. So
Okay.
nice
Okay.
town.
What? There's nice and then there's me.
Yeah,
Not offensive.
it was the years, I was
Yeah.
8, 9, 10 type of thing,
Yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
just kind of what was going on with my family at that time. So, I'm sure it was a nice place to be.
Mhm. Mhm.
I like
Yeah.
W Dog. We went there every we either went to the mall and we could get whatever we wanted, my brother and
Mm.
I. My parents would give us like $5 or whatever, and we could go get what we wanted. And or we would go to W Dog and they had like a sit down Pac-Man. We get
Oh,
two
the
people,
table
the
game.
table flip. Yeah. So
Yep. Yep.
that was cool. So that's why we like going there.
Yep.
And
That would
Little
have been
King was a
1980
Subway
something.
shop.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I was moved
You and I are about a year and a half apart in age. I'm a little
eight,
bit older than you. So yeah,
80,
would have been
81.
82, 83. Yeah. 81.
Yeah,
Yeah.
81, 82, 83 for me. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we
Yeah.
moved
I
here
lived
in
in,
the summer of 84. I moved from Sioux City to here. So, yeah, that makes
mm,
sense because I lived there for
okay.
3 years.
Yeah. I lived in a little teeny weeny little northern Alberta town called Sexsmith. Oh, and anyway, I lived in this teeny weeny little town from the fall of 1980 to the spring of 84. So that's where I was from, or I shouldn't say from. That's where I lived at the time when Pac-Man, the table games and stuff like that
Oh,
were happening.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And a
Yeah,
couple
Crystal was
years
there
later,
for
that's
sure.
when I moved to the town where Crystal grew up. So yeah.
Isn't that so funny that we're
Hmm.
because like, he was born and raised in Iowa for a big time and I moved there
Hmm.
for a 3 year stint and I
Hmm.
mean, I was also 3 years in upstate New York before
Oh,
that, and I was born in
okay.
North Carolina.
Hmm.
So that was right as I
Okay.
was a welcome home from Vietnam baby.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
I was a Canadian baby, so it had nothing to do with Vietnam.
Exactly.
But it was during the time when I was born. So yeah. No, Todd, we're not laughing at you. We're laughing with you.
Exactly.
Are
We
you
think it's
laughing at me?
hilarious.
You
We
said LOL, so we're trusting that you're actually laughing out loud.
Yeah,
So yeah.
it was because we didn't have a pool. I lived on the one side of town that was being
Mm.
developed. So
Mm. Hmm.
like our street went this way and it was only developed like halfway up. So
Oh.
it was close to the school and I could ride my
Hmm.
bike there,
Hmm.
but there was really nothing around us. We had to drive into the city, which is weird, but to
Mm.
get anywhere to do anything. So
Right. Right.
yeah, we didn't have a pool or anything. There was pretty much nothing. There was
Well, like I
school.
said, we're in this town of teeny weeniness. And my
Mm-hmm.
girls, we've been here for 21 years now.
Oh, so
Longest I've
they
ever lived anywhere in my life was 4 years. So
yeah.
after 4 years, it's like, oh, this is the longest I've lived anywhere in my whole life.
Yeah, so your
And
girls practically grew up their entire
holy,
life there.
yes, yeah. They were
Wow.
2 and 3 when we moved here,
Yeah.
and that fall they turned 3 and 4. So yeah, they've lived here their whole lives. And it
Mm-hmm.
used to be my older daughter. We would drive into the city, and she'd go, cars. No matter where we were in the city, cars. I can smell them. And now she lives in Windsor.
Oh my gosh. See, well, it was for us, it was like, oh, cows.
Well, if the wind blows the wrong way, yeah, we can smell the cows. But generally, we can't. We're in a part of town where there's no cows. So yeah. Oh well. Anyway, I don't know if we're just having a chat or if we're trying to avoid the grooming.
No, I think we're just
Um,
having fun. So,
I think we're just having a chat. Yes, yes.
but we can definitely
And
start talking about
Todd lived
grooming.
from a place that had 700 people. Yeah, everybody knows everybody from
Oh
9 to
yeah, with
13.
that.
Yep. In our town, I can honestly say that it's not a situation where everybody knows everybody. There's a lot of little cells. You know the people. If you grew up here your whole life, you might know everybody.
Hmm.
But I moved here 20 years ago and I knew the parents of the children in my children's class. I knew the
Right.
people from my church. I knew the people from the school where I was going. So I knew some cells of people. And I think that's similar in any location.
Are the
Um,
houses spread? Because it sounds like the houses are spread out enough that it's not.
oh no, we're right beside each other. It's just
Oh, all
there's
700 are
8 feet
beside.
between houses instead of two. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah, I'd say there's a good 8 feet between my house and the neighbor's house to one side and probably 12 feet on the other side,
I'm sure it's
maybe
that
more.
one woman who probably always walked the streets and just got to know absolutely everybody. There's always one in any small town.
Yeah, there probably is. Yep, yep. And we have our local. Never mind, I won't get into that. We have our local person who is not mentally stable, who does not take medications for his illness, and therefore, in my personal, humble yet accurate opinion, he is crazy. Um,
I just saw
and
a
I've
t
talked to my psychiatrist about this because I have a mental illness. I am on medication and I'm in treatment. I'm not crazy. I have an illness. There's a difference. When you
I
have an illness and you're not getting treated, that is crazy.
I just saw a t-shirt today and I don't. Bye, Todd. See you.
Hi, Todd.
Um, I just saw a t-shirt today and I can't remember if it was said crazy or insane, but it said, um, I'm not crazy or I'm not insane. I prefer to think of myself as mentally creative.
I'm neurosparkly. Let me tell you, I'm not even neurodivergent. I'm neurosparkly. See, like on the side of my hat, like I'll
There you
buy
go.
hats from the dollar store or whatever. This one
Right.
was I can't remember. I think it was a navy blue hat, and I used fabric paint and sprayed it purple, and then add a brooch
Cool.
on the side.
Yeah.
Actually, I think this might be a hairpin or something like that
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
So you can make some pretty fantastic things. Yeah, the town where Crystal grew up was a town of about 500. and then there was a hamlet and a village and a First Nations reserve, and a resort that um, was surrounding that little town. So there was,
Oh, interesting.
a lot around that one. Yeah. So speaking of that town and speaking of Crystal and myself and yourself, let's talk about grooming. We're going to talk
Sure.
about grooming children versus adult grooming for bad relationships. This time we're going to talk about grooming children. Perhaps next time we'll talk about grooming adults for manipulation purposes or sexual assault or whatever.
Right.
So let's get into that. So tell me, what is grooming and what are some of the steps that happen with that?
Okay. Grooming is anything where there is a process of gaining a child, let's say word and child, gaining a child's trust in order to have a secret sexual relationship with. And there's, I've broken things down into, I think, 5 or 6 steps. It's actually 7. There are numerous ways to kind of break it down. And
Mm-hmm.
when hey, Mary,
Hi,
happy
Mary.
birthday, right? It's our
Happy
birthday day.
birthday.
Yes. Um, Different people break it down differently. They're pretty much the same information that you're talking about. And one thing you need to keep in mind is even though I'm going through steps, it's the first and the last are the steps in all the time, but the things in between can happen together. They can cross over. There can be something else that happens before. Um, so it's not that it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is how it all the steps. Sometimes some things are graduated like that, but the internal can be a little bit messy. And
Kind of like grief, right? There are 5 stages of grief, but they
yes,
intermingle. They're not linear. One will
yep.
happen maybe 3 or 4 times, and it'll
Ex-
just,
exactly.
yeah.
You're on 4, but then you go back to 2, and it
Yes.
just
Yeah.
depends on what's going on. Um,
Hmm.
the thing that people need to keep in mind with this too is that for children, any child, no matter what their age, and we're going to just talk about
Hmm.
children, so it's 18 and under, or under 18. It doesn't matter their age, their sex, their weight, their race, sexual orientation. Anybody can be the target of somebody who wants to groom.
Yeah.
If there is a person, there is a perpetrator who that person is their type.
Absolutely. There's a
You
lid for
know,
every pot.
exactly.
Mhm.
So those are the um, those are the things to keep in mind. And the other thing about grooming is that its sole focus is manipulation.
Mhm.
Everything is designed to manipulate the child to do something or feel something
Yeah.
that they wouldn't maybe ordinarily do, and making them feel comfortable with doing that. So
Yeah.
it's really important that we say that so that survivors know it's not your fault. Even if they go, but I wanted to. You only wanted to because somebody was manipulating you, and they
Yeah.
manipulated the situation, so they made you think that this is something that you want. Now you're looking back, though, was it really something you wanted? If this person hadn't done all these steps, would you have, like, if he just went up to you and you'd be like, oh yeah, hey, yeah, I want to do whatever sexual act, exactly.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't. And and so that can be really difficult for survivors to reconcile within themselves. And
The
I know because
guilt.
that was me, you
Absolutely.
know,
Same here. Same here. Yep.
so you go, for me, I was like, I don't have a right to call myself a victim because I was engaging in this activity willingly.
Mhm.
And it makes it even more confusing when the groomer is a child. It does not have to be an adult. It can
Right.
be a child as well. Um,
Hmm.
and that just goes to show you how intuitive it is. Some people are just very good manipulators to get what they
Absolutely.
want. There's no manual or book that, these sexual predators read to go, okay, this is how I can groom, it
Hmm.
some people are just naturally gifted, if you want to. I'm like, yeah. um
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, it's a skilled, let's say, whether it's
it
skilled
is a
in
skill
that.
and it's practiced.
Oh
It's
yeah.
not like they get it right the first time.
Yes. And it's, most often it starts with their family.
Hmm.
So they're manipulating for some reason.
Hmm.
They're told they
Or
can't
at
have
school.
this. Yes.
Yeah.
Their
They feel
teachers.
powerless sometimes in their family. Therefore, at school, they exert power where they can't. That's where you get a lot of bullies from as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why when you look behind the curtain with a lot of
Hmm.
bullies, they don't have the best home lives.
No.
And they're asserting power because they they don't feel they have it either in school, or at home.
Right.
So keeping that in mind, I want survivors to know it's never your fault.
That's
It's
right.
never your fault, whether you're groomed or not. It's never your fault. So we need to shed the guilt. We need to shed the shame, and we
Yeah.
need to put it on the blame. We need to put that
Where it
on the
belongs.
abuser. Exactly. You know,
Yep.
it's not us. And you do have a right to feel victimized, even if you are engaging in something willingly.
Yep.
You were a kid.
Yep. Um,
That's all it takes.
absolutely. No,
So,
there was an adult who I had a crush on, and they took advantage of that crush.
mhm,
I was in high school, and they were probably twice my age,
mhm,
and they took advantage of that crush.
mhm.
I had a boyfriend who was 5.5 years older than me, so I was 17 or 18 in that area, and he'd have been 22, 23, 24 in that area.
That was my
Now,
first husband.
exactly, exactly. See, in Saskatchewan now, at the time it wasn't, but now it's illegal for intimate relationships um, with a teenager if you are more than 5 years older.
Yeah, we finally had we call it a Romeo Juliet law. I don't know why, but
Yeah,
and
well,
they finally instituted
yeah.
it because you're having all these young people who their mom or dad's, pushing the case, and they're
Hmm.
going, we're two teenagers or a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old or whatever, and that person is found guilty because they did it, they did it.
And
Yeah,
they're
we had
underage.
sex. And
Yeah,
and so, the 19-year-old, he's over 18, and now he's going to be on the sexual registry for life.
exactly. Yes, absolutely. And police will be harassing him and all of these things that just are completely unfair.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, so they did do that here. I was
Yeah.
happy to hear about that.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I was working for the Court of Appeals, here, and I was working before. Gypsy, it's been
I'm
so long since I have seen you. Hello,
glad
hello,
you're here.
hello.
Yes.
Um, I was working at the Court of Appeals, so we'd get appeals with this, and there's just nothing we could do. The law was the law, and it changed actually after, I left, a few years
Mm,
after I left the Court of Appeals, but um, glad it did. Glad it did.
yeah. And Crystal's exactly right. Real offenders get a slap on the wrist, especially if it's an adult on adult or if it's a child on child. My dad got a slap on the wrist against my sister because they could only prove one offense and she was over 18 at the time. He had been doing it to her from the time she was 12.
Hmm.
And none of that they could prove because nobody ever saw it. My mom and I were totally clueless, and just looking back, I could have helped the police a lot more had they asked the right questions. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
ask me the right questions, so I wasn't able to, and in my brain, it's like, okay, yeah, there was this, but they're not asking about that. They're asking
Right.
about this. And
And
so
you're
I
so
didn't feel
young, and
anything.
it doesn't occur to you to go, oh, and by the way, you might want to know this. You
Exactly.
you don't have the
Exactly.
experience.
Exactly right. Yeah. So my dad got 2 years less a day. He spent 3 months in jail. It was pathetic. And his reasoning after that, I realized what I did meant so little because there were people I knew who didn't even know I was away.
Wow.
Can you imagine? He ruined lives, like decimated lives.
Right.
And it meant so little because people didn't even know he was away in jail. And nothing had changed in the world,
Right.
just different people, just different songs on the radio and all of that. Because he was charged for somebody over 18, he wasn't even charged as a child offender. And so he would not have been under the same pressures in prison or under the same punishments, I guess, from other prisoners
Oh, okay.
that he
Right.
would have
Right.
been otherwise, right? So yeah.
Yeah, my state's a little different. I can't speak for the U.S., because every state's different. But
Hmm.
we have,
Hmm.
for sentencing, we have sentencing guidelines, and
Yeah.
there are um, prior offense variables, which is any crimes that you've done in the past. You add up your points for felonies and
Hmm.
misdemeanors. And then there's the offense variables, which is what did the crime do? So does it involve a child? Was there harm, emotional, distress, whatever, bop, 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 bop.
Hmm.
And the so they add those up, and then they just kind of go, okay, you're a 3C. And what's the guideline? It's say 70 months to 120 months. And the judge then has
Right.
discretion within that. And that
Right.
becomes their minimum. I mean, there's a state maximum, which is like 15 years or something like that for
Right.
certain things. Um,
Yeah.
so I think they
Yeah.
get a little bit more.
Tommy on the lifeboat has talked about his number and going to I was going to say university. That's wrong. Going to prison, and other inmates will say, "Well, let me see his sheet. Let me see what his numbers are. Let me see." And that tells a lot about what you've done.
Yeah.
So I know it's not just in Michigan; it is in other
Hmm.
states as well. But yeah, I don't know what the formula is in Canada. That would be very interesting to find out.
Yeah, definitely has a different system
Oh yeah.
when it comes to that. Um, because everybody I've heard who have told me their stories living in Canada, it's often just the same as yours.
Hmm.
It's been a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, you
And
want to be a child offender in Canada versus the States.
yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
How pathetic is that?
It's yeah.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Well, back to grooming. The
Yes.
first the first step, get
Mhm.
out there. The
Yeah.
first step that is always going to be the first step is identifying the victim. The perpetrator is going to say, generally, they have a type. Usually, it's
Hmm.
an age range. They
Yeah.
usually have a preference of boys versus girls. Sometimes there can be more specific ones. They like blondes versus, but generally, it's just kind of an age range and gender are the two things,
Hmm.
and maybe race that can
Mm.
play into it as well.
Yeah.
Um, but there are some offenders who they just take the easiest pickings. They
Yeah.
don't have a range and uh, or a preference, and that can be very difficult then in catching them and identifying them. Um, if it's the situation where the person's going around and the police actually get involved because they don't have a specific type. It's kind of like murder. Within murder,
Yes. The
you have
MO. Yeah.
you have your modus operandi, and that is how you do your murder and
Yeah.
what kind
And
of
the signature and
Yeah. Do
all
you
of that
use a
other
knife
stuff.
most of the time? Do you use a gun most of the time? Is it on women? Is it on, adults? Is it on children? I mean,
Yeah.
there's a certain type and a certain way they do things. And when you're all over the map, that makes it really difficult for, like, say, serial killers to catch them, because there's
Mhm.
just no continuity, between
Mhm.
anything. And some of the serial killers have gotten wise now, and they'll cross
Oh,
state
yeah.
lines now,
Oh,
and they'll
yeah.
mix it up and strangle and then use knife and maybe poison one person. I mean, you just so
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a better state to state communication. For you guys, it would
Mhm.
be, province to
Province to
province,
province.
you know, of
Yeah.
sharing of information of stuff like this when you're dealing with a serial SAer, or
Right.
a serial murderer,
Mhm.
because then you can connect the dots, and
Yeah.
it just sometimes it just doesn't, and it's a shame that it takes so long to catch these people.
Yeah.
So once the person has kind of identified a person that they like,
Mhm.
there's more than just their preference. They
Mhm.
are going to pick the most vulnerable person that they can find within
Mhm.
their range. Some people go to the park, some people will be around activities, some people go to the mall. I mean, everybody's got their scoping out places as to where they, are looking for people. Um,
Yeah.
if it's parent, they may be scoping out the schools, you know,
Yeah.
that's a possibility. Or it's somebody within your family, so they don't have to go very far. But
Yeah.
you, it's like when somebody wants to burgle our home, they ideally want something that's unlocked, unoccupied.
Mhm.
That you're going for the easiest, path of least
The
resistance.
low-hanging fruit.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
the person who, the child who has low self-esteem, doesn't seem to
Mhm.
have many friends, is kind of
Mhm.
separate from everybody. Maybe
Mhm.
they're new, maybe they just moved there, so they haven't been able to make those connections
Not a
yet.
lot of, yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Hola, Maritza.
Hello. Um,
Yeah, I
there's
actually watched a documentary of somebody who was, interviewing a notorious, I wish I remembered the guy's name, a notorious child assault offender, and they're like, they look for somebody without a strong father figure in their lives. They look for somebody who is shy. They look for somebody with
mhm,
long hair so they can hold the ponytail. I mean, like, that's what that was his
right,
criteria,
right.
right?
And the shyness and the people with no connection or little connection,
Mhm.
if they don't have a very good home life, if it's kind of unstable,
Yep,
whether it's male or a female offender,
yep.
there's some role that they can fill. There's something beyond just being
Mhm,
able to give gifts or money to somebody that they
mhm.
can fulfill within that person. And fulfilling an emotional need
Yep.
is going to tie you closer to that person. And it also
Mhm.
makes you then more easily manipulated,
Yep.
because everything else that goes along with it, you don't have somebody looking over the child's shoulder and checking in on them and saying, hey,
Yeah,
what's going on? And who are you spending time with? And what's.
yeah.
So that that certainly, moves into like the second, I think the second and the third for me, that they kind of go hand in hand.
Mhm,
Um, the next stage, it's gaining trust and access to the
mhm,
child. So
mhm.
what they want to do is insert themselves into that family so that their presence isn't unusual, you
It's
know?
not questioned.
And
Yeah.
normally they like, um, parents who aren't very connected.
Mhm.
Single moms are great.
Yep.
Single dad's an alcoholic, whatever. Anything
Parents who
where,
have very busy lives, and therefore there's a nanny or a babysitter kinda thing going on.
yep. and they can insert themselves as that person.
That's right.
They can help, take them from sports, say they're the sports coach, the baseball,
Oh,
little
yeah.
league, oh,
Yeah.
I'll take them home for you. That's not a problem. I can pick them up.
Mhm.
It's right on my way.
Mhm.
They're so helpful.
Yeah.
And the family, most of the time, they're gaining trust of the family first,
Yeah.
because the child's trust will come because of that. Well, mom trusts them, or dad
Yeah.
trusts them. So, I mean,
Absolutely.
why would I question being alone with him? It, it's
I have
fine.
to say my gut has
Mm.
saved me more than I can even explain. When I was around 12, 13 years old, for a period of time, my dad would want to drive off to whatever town and do some errands or whatever. He's like, okay, Kim, let's go together. I'm like, no. And I just kept saying no and no and no for like a couple years. And my
Wow.
mom would get mad. She's like, why don't you just go with your father and just make a thing of it and all of that stuff? I'm like, no, I just,
Right. Spend time
I
with him.
just
He's trying to be
don't want.
nice. Right?
Exactly. He's trying to be your
Mm-hmm.
dad. He's trying to, yeah, he's trying to connect with you. And I
Yeah.
did not have any inkling that he was trying to be inappropriate. He wasn't showing any inklings of being abusive. He was just being a dad. But somewhere in my spirit, there was this don't do it.
And
And so I can honestly say that that saved my bacon. Let me tell you.
kids and adults,
Yep.
everybody need to learn to trust their gut more.
Yeah.
Especially
Absolutely.
women, um,
Mhm.
and especially kids. Women in general, they've tested it, have a stronger sense of intuition than men do.
Mhm.
And so when your gut's telling you something, listen to it.
Yeah.
It's doing it for a reason. And I can't tell you the amount of times I ignored my gut, and it
Yeah.
put me in a bad situation, whether it was, with somebody, or a financial decision, or, whatever it was.
Mhm.
It's like, dang, I should have listened to I had this, I thought maybe, but then it was like, it seems harmless, or what. And especially kids, we need to teach our kids, trust your gut. If somebody is around you and somebody is offering to wants to have some alone time with you, because that's one
Mhm.
of the steps in grooming, is getting the child alone, being able to get the child alone. If your gut says this guy's creepy,
Yep.
follow it, and say, no thanks. And I
Yep.
mean, some of it may not be your choice. Like if mom says, nope, you've got to go with him because he's
Right.
picking you up and driving you home, but then still trust your gut to stay as disconnected from that
Yeah.
person as possible,
Yes.
because it's there for a reason, and it's telling you something for a reason. So
Yep.
kids kids especially need to be taught to trust it, because
Mhm.
too often, I think the message, at least for my generation, too often the message was respect your elders, right? And so
Never
it meant
question.
you
Always be polite.
trusted the adults, right?
Yeah.
You didn't question their motives or anything,
No.
they knew better. And I think
Mhm.
that we've definitely gotten to a better place with it, because I
I
see it with
agree.
my sons and his
Yep.
friends.
Yep.
Um, there was a person in their friend group who was being groomed,
Mm.
and each step of the way they were like, mm, I this that just sounds fishy to me. That just sounds fishy to me.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so the person was definite with that, with their eyes open. And
Mhm.
the moment that something inappropriate was, happening, and even
Mhm.
not even, it was kind of just an arm type of thing, where you're like, this is not,
Just that touch or that.
out of
Yeah.
there. They were out of there, and they told their parent.
Good.
And
Yes.
all the friends were like, yeah, see, we told you,
Told
it's
ya.
like, but
Yeah.
at least, their eyes were open to it, and they knew what to look
Yeah.
for. And
Yeah.
we've got to teach our kids that, and that it's okay to question adults' motives. It's okay to
Absolutely.
question if that person is making you feel uncomfortable. Please
Mhm.
tell somebody, anybody. And
Mhm.
if one person doesn't listen, tell somebody else, and keep telling until you get to somebody,
Mhm.
who is going to believe you. Teachers and doctors are great people because they're mandatory reporters. So if you're going to say something to them, they have to report it. They have to take it seriously. So if your
Um,
family isn't believing you,
I do know of a situation that happened in the 90s where a pastor who is a mandated reporter did
mhm,
not report. And they said, well, it's because it wasn't happening anymore. They didn't think it was happening anymore. Therefore, they didn't feel the need to report. And I think that's wrong. I I don't know what the law says. In my spirit, in my heart, that's no excuse.
yeah, yeah, I'm not, even for here, I don't know the exact wording of the law for
Mhm.
the mandated reporting. Um, yeah, if the harm's over, I'm not sure
Yeah.
what the situation is with that. That'd be interesting to look up for Canada
Mhm.
and for the US. Um,
Absolutely.
so, all of these things that we've been talking about actually are these, next 2 and 3 steps, that kind of filler
Mhm.
before the end. They're
Mhm.
you're Most often they're going to be helping the family, or helping the family out by helping the child. Maybe they buy mom's
Mhm.
groceries because there's, mom's not always there, mom doesn't have a lot of money, or
Mhm.
somehow they are helping, and they're making themselves
Mhm.
indisposable, really.
That's right.
I mean, that's ideal. And so that's the other, step, is becoming important to the child, becoming important in
Mhm.
their life. And
Mhm.
they can do that simply by being important in the family's life,
Mhm.
because they could look at it and go, wow, they're helping mom out so much. This is such a good person. They wouldn't harm me. There's nothing wrong
How
here.
dare I feel uncomfortable because look how nice they are to yada yada yada, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they're only offering good. So
Mhm.
by the other thing making themselves indisposable is
Mhm.
that connection with the child.
Mhm.
So there's going
Yeah.
to be the gift giving,
Right.
whether it's money, whether it's sports equipment that mom can't afford, or dad doesn't want to be bothered to buy, or the newest
Mhm.
video game that they would never be able to own,
Yeah. Or
whatever
not
that is.
allowed to own.
Hmm.
That's the other thing is undermining the parents,
Yes, so you
you
can
know,
keep it at my place then.
and you
So
can see it,
then,
use it anytime.
exactly. So then there's
Mhm.
an excuse for the child to be separated from
Right.
the parents, to be
Ugh.
alone with the person,
Yep.
because that is one of the other steps in this, is finding ways to get access to the child alone. And
Mhm.
beyond the, what I call, the physical, which is the money,
Mhm.
the tangible stuff,
Mhm.
most of these people are damaged in some way, whether it's just because they're shy, and then they
Mhm.
just, that's them, or whether
Mhm.
there's something going on at the house where
Right.
there's a reason as to why they are the way they are.
Right.
And if that perpetrator can fill whatever need, emotional need, that is a very strong connector, that the child will then look at and say, do I want to break this? But they are that father figure, or they are that friend that I never had. I can talk to them
Mhm.
about anything. And the perpetrator may say, but I'm the only person who understands you, or you're the only person who understands me. And then you've
Yeah.
got a child, as an adult, you're going, I
Yeah.
understand you. that's like, because what does every child want to be? An adult. I mean,
Absolutely. Yep.
be be seen as something more than your
An equal.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
Hmm.
So this is all part of the manipulation. That's whatever they can do to get into and ingrain themselves in their lives, because they want to be such that it's going to take a lot to break that bond. So
Hmm.
when they ask the first time to, hey, why don't you sit on my lap or something?
Hmm.
I just want to hug you. I just want to love you, and
Yeah.
giving you that love that you don't get, type of thing. Or,
Hmm.
God, I know, and that practice was brutal. Let me give you a massage. I know your shoulders, you were pitching so much, yeah,
Yeah.
let's,
Ooh,
you
you
know,
work out, don't you? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, so many different ways to instigate physical touch,
Hmm.
because that's one of the other steps, is normalizing sexual situations,
Hmm.
normalizing, a sexual encounter.
Hmm.
Basically sexualizing the child, and
Yes, exactly.
whether that's through, you know, graduated touch, getting more and more and more, whether that's through changing in front of you, going, hey, this is just, it's just a body, it's just
Yeah.
parts. Um,
Yeah.
Bathing, depending on the child's age, that can be a thing. And, well,
Mhm.
you're naked, so I'll be naked too. That's just fair, right?
I don't
And
want to get wet bathing you, so I may as well. Like, I don't want my
yeah,
clothes to get wrecked. So
exactly. So I'll
yeah,
just do
I'll
it.
just take off my shirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because, they may still need help washing their hair or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
And
You're 8 years old. You need help bathing, don't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah, let's take a bath instead of a shower. I think that'll help more with your muscle aches. Let's
Mm-hmm.
do a
Hmm.
Epsom salt bath or something like that. And um, I'll help scrub you down, or whatever it is. And therefore, when they go to the first sexual touch, whether that's touching them or asking the
Hmm.
child to touch the perpetrator.
Or touch themselves.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Because that's another way of normalizing. It's just your
Yeah.
body, it's just body parts. Because just first, it's just going to be body parts. Then it might start, oh, well, this is what adults do, to have
This is how
fun.
we
And
say we love you.
yes, and doesn't that
This
feel
kind of
good?
kiss.
Doesn't that
Yeah.
feel good?
Yeah.
And this is also when you're indisposable, it's like, can't you just do me this favor, type of thing.
Hmm.
And so when you're tight with a kid, and going, I give you this, so you should give me that.
Hmm.
There's also, that way of manipulating the child.
Absolutely.
So,
There was a hockey coach here in Saskatchewan who
mm,
has been has gone to jail. There's an NHL player named Sidney. Oh, what's his name? Not Sidney Crosby. Kennedy, Sheldon Kennedy. That's his name. Who actually went public and said this coach did this to me while I was in junior hockey,
oh
and this
wow,
coach did this, saying you will get ahead farther. I will open up doors for you. All of
mm-hmm.
these things, promises of a future.
Yes,
And he did end up in the NHL. And there were other victims that this coach had who didn't feel comfortable coming forward. But the fact that Sheldon Kennedy was willing to come forward was huge.
oh,
First of all, it was a
absolutely.
male that, who came forward. Second, it was a male in a male dominated sport,
It's like somebody here
right?
coming forth in football,
Yep,
and there
that's
have
right.
been some people who have come forth and said, I am an SA survivor.
Yes,
And
yes.
whether it was of a coach, or whether it was of a parent, or, a neighbor, or whatever, they've come they've come forth with it, and that is huge. That is huge.
And Crystal is right. Sheldon Kennedy and Theo Fleury were essayed by the same coach.
Oh geez.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's those types of promises. I always told my son, um, and I tell other parents as
Hmm.
well, that you don't want to ostracize somebody just for being nice, right?
No.
But you do need to take a careful look. You do need to check in more with your child. You do need to just be aware of what's going on, and making sure your child knows what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. And if you feel uncomfortable, you need to tell me. And any little thing that it is, maybe that will turn out to be nothing, but maybe it will turn out to be something. The guy at the end of the block who's single but has every toy a kid could want, has the swimming pool, has the
Hmm.
trampoline, and so kids from the neighborhood all go over there, to play. Guess what? They've just got their own park that they can pick people
That's
from,
right. That's right.
and
Yeah.
you do want to be careful with people who are like that. I mean, maybe they just love kids, and maybe they just love helping out. Maybe they didn't have that as a child, so they, you
Yeah.
know, want to give back to the neighborhood or whatever. It could be harmless.
Hmm.
However, 9 times out of
It might not
10,
be.
yeah,
Yeah.
it usually isn't.
Yeah.
So, uh,
So what's the next step that we would look for?
well, we've kind of been speaking about, 2, 3,
Just kind of
4.
all
Yep,
intertwining.
4 and 5. Um,
Hmm.
Beginning to isolate the child, that's another thing, that
Hmm.
we spoke about, different ways to do that, whether it's
Hmm.
babysitting or taking them places.
Hmm.
Sexualizing the relationship was another step that we had spoken about.
Normalizing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And especially for, well, really kids of all ages. Well, I'd say 6 or 7 and under, probably not much, but 7, 8 and up,
Hmm.
they also play on a child's natural curiosity about the body,
Hmm.
especially if it's a male or female that's different from what they are.
Yes.
Or,
Yeah.
if it's a male and a male, it's like, yeah, this is what your body does when it grows up. Look what's going to happen. Look,
That's right.
oh, you didn't know this felt good, because,
Hmm.
it's kids, generally boys, at least, generally 11, 12 before they um, start touching themselves and become aware of that,
Okay.
that's an
I
option.
don't know. I don't have sons.
Yeah, I only had the one, and I had to do some research, but
Hmm.
that seems to be about the age that they kind of have self discovery, whenever
Okay.
the hair starts to grow on the genitals, and, there's just different
Hmm.
changes, and their bodies are, they're able to think something in their mind and make body parts do things, that's
Yeah.
that connection. It doesn't, I don't think it really happens when you're younger. I mean, physical touch can cause an erection in a boy, but I don't
Yep.
think that you can make it happen by thoughts when you're too
Mm.
young.
Okay.
um I'm not 100%
I
sure on
suppose
that.
you might not have
I'm not
your
a
brain might not
physician,
have
but
the information to make that happen, you know?
right. Yeah, I think there's just some disconnect between those. But
Mm.
certainly if they, were told and they found out, they
Mhm.
learned,
Yep, if they've
maybe
been
they could.
physically touched to the point where they know, "Oh, this happens, now this next thing is gonna feel good."
Yeah.
Anticipatory.
Yep,
Yep,
exactly, exactly. And it can go the same with girls. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, this is what a adult male body looks like. This
Mhm,
is what we do, and this is what
mhm,
you do to please me, and what I'm going to do to please you.
mhm.
So they want to make it something that the child likes. They don't want to be.
Absolutely.
R-ing them.
Right.
They will if they have to.
Well, technically speaking, it is a grape if you want to look for the rhyming. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I only say that from the standpoint of the child being unwilling, kind of
Yes.
making a
Yeah.
differentiation there.
Yeah.
It it Secrecy is the other point that is in
Mm-hmm.
this mix as well, because
Mm-hmm.
they want to keep the relationship secret, and it's
Mm-hmm.
important that the child knows that it needs to be kept secret. Now, how do you get the
Absolutely.
child to do that? Well, you can just say, depending on their age, it's our secret, it's our special thing. So our
Mm-hmm.
special time together, so shh, we don't want to tell anybody, 'cause some people might not understand,
Mm-hmm.
so let's just keep it between us. It's just our thing.
Yeah.
Then there's also the level of explaining a little bit more if the child's a little bit older, going, yeah, people won't understand, your parents probably won't want you to be around me if they found out.
Yeah.
So, we need to keep it on the down low. We need to
Yeah.
keep it a secret. And then there's things like, I'd kill myself if this got out. There may be,
Or I'll kill your pet,
yeah,
your sibling, your
threats.
parents,
Yep, threats. It's
threats
it's
of
a last
violence.
it's a last it's a manipulative tactic of a last resort, because
Yes.
you
Yeah.
want that willingness,
Absolutely.
especially if they are looking for a long-term relationship with this
Yeah.
child. And here's the other thing: grooming can take it can be a very short period of time. It can be a few days. It
Mm-hmm.
can be a year.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on the situation and the child and what they're doing. Now, I will say most perpetrators, if they're taking a year with one child, they've probably got another that they're
Oh yeah. Yeah.
actively essaying at that time. So
Absolutely.
they're just being able to, yes, yep, putting it on the victim. Yes,
That's right.
exactly.
Hmm.
Or if you tell, no one's going to believe you.
That's another one. Who are they going to believe? Are they going to believe the pastor of this church, or are they going to believe some kid
Yeah,
who's been in trouble, who's had a difficult life, who doesn't know the truth from a lie? Um, like that kind of thing. Just yeah.
right. I'm a well-respected member of this society.
Mhm.
I look at all the
Mhm.
good that I do.
Mhm.
So yeah, um, keeping it secret is definitely the other part of this. The last piece is always going to be the last piece, and it is they have finally gained total control over the child,
Mhm.
because that's their end goal. Because
Mhm.
keep in mind, SA is not about sex; it's about power and control. The
Mhm.
sex is secondary. They are fulfilling a need because they are sexually
Oh
attracted
yeah.
to children,
Oh yeah.
but it's that power and control that drives them over that child.
Mhm.
So when they're
Mhm.
able to, they've ingrained themselves in the child's life so much that
Mhm.
child knows they have to keep this thing a secret. They can say or do almost anything with that child, and they're going to go along. And
Mhm.
that's the ultimate. If it's within a family, yeah, interfamily SA, yep,
Mhm.
yep, um, eh,
Incest, whether it being parent, child, or siblings, either way, it's going to
yep,
be what would everybody else say? Like,
right.
do we really want to be the weird family or the broken family, or and then they put it all on the victim, the possible result rather than the offender on whom the actual responsibility rests.
Do you really want to hurt mom like this? Do you really
Mhm.
want to fracture our family? You know,
Mhm.
let's say you are believed,
Mhm.
that you're only going to bring hurt to mom or hurt to dad, or,
Yeah.
put our other sibling in the mix, or whatever it is. It's definitely. you're putting all these decisions on a child's shoulders that
Mhm.
they just aren't prepared to emotionally or mentally, intellectually be able
Exactly.
to work through and say,
Exactly.
no, no, you're wrong. Unless you have been teaching your child to do this, to recognize this, to come to me if something is said, if something is done. That is why I say every time when I'm going through something like this, education is the key. And it's
Mhm.
education of the adults and it's education for the child. The adults need to be on the watch for that, trampoline video game person at the end of the street who is always like, yeah, yeah, send them down here. I'll watch them
Mhm.
for a while,
That's right.
get out of
Yeah.
your
I mean,
hair.
well, let
Yeah,
the others have
no,
the
no
pool
worries.
party.
I jump on the trampoline, whatever.
Yep.
And so parents need to do their part in it being aware and keeping their eyes open of anybody who is paying extra special attention to your child. Do
Mhm.
they separate them out? Are they giving them extra lessons in
Mhm.
baseball? And let's say
Yeah.
that your child really could care less about being there. They're just doing it to do something. And
Mhm.
so they are mediocre.
Yeah.
There's no reason that they want lessons. It's just, so you need to know your child as well. And then you need to educate them and say, listen, these are the steps you need to be aware of. These are the things you need to keep in mind. And you can tell that to really a child as young as 6.
Mhm.
You just have to use appropriate language so that they can understand. But if there are, at least if it makes you uncomfortable, come to me. That's
Yeah.
probably the easiest thing. Um, we have to educate everybody.
Yeah.
And it's definitely
And if
gotten a
it
lot better
happens
with the younger generation. They do definitely know more.
if it happens that you are in a situation as a parent and you're not sure if you should be wondering, if you're a child and you're not sure if you should be wondering, if you are in a situation where it feels wrong, but I don't want to go to anybody because people in my neighborhood would know, email me. Email me and you and I can talk about it. Um, I cannot give you legal advice. Okay. Sharon works, is a lawyer in the States, in Michigan.
In the
So she
US.
can't help uh, federally, but she might be able to help at least give a basis of what the laws are in the US.
I can
And
give information. I can't establish a legal
right.
relationship without being actually representing you. But I can at least give you information as to
Yes.
where do things stand. I can look at what the law is in your state and
Hmm.
explain that to you.
Hmm.
And just same as Kim, just give you more information and
Absolutely.
help you with identify the situation that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. So please, please, please reach out. Don't be
Absolutely.
afraid to reach out because Sharon and I have both been there.
Hmm.
We have been victims of sexual assault. We've been victims of those manipulators. We've been victims of all of those things, but we have survived it and we've come
Hmm.
out on the other side to say there is hope, there is victory,
Hmm.
there is healing through all of this, but we can only do it together.
Hmm.
And together, we are so much more powerful than any one perpetrator.
Absolutely.
So please, please reach out. Okay. Any
Absolutely.
final thoughts there, Sharon?
No, I go back to again, as you can see, it's all about power and control. The manipulation is all to get to that end goal of total control of the
Mhm.
person. And so
Mhm.
if anything makes you feel uncomfortable, report it to somebody. If the first
Mhm.
person doesn't believe you, talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
Please, you can. utilize resources. If you're watching this and finding us, you know,
Yep.
email Kim, email me, reach out to somebody, and just know that it's not your fault.
Hmm.
It's not. If
Yeah.
something feels icky, it's probably wrong.
Or if something feels too good, you're being told it's too good to miss out on. Be careful of that as well.
That person
Okay.
who's giving
Because
you
that,
gifts for no reason,
that's
you
right.
know, or, oh, I had this in my closet. I don't use it anymore. This would be
Yeah.
perfect for you. It's still a gift out of nowhere. It may be
Hmm.
something that maybe they did have it and they didn't have to buy it new. That doesn't
Right.
matter. You know,
Yeah.
they're giving you stuff out of the blue.
And there's no previous relationship to discuss that with.
Right.
So,
It's not your
yes.
birthday. It's, there's no, even if it is your birthday, if it's somebody who you didn't have a relationship with, who wouldn't have given you a gift normally.
Or
Normally
over
most.
extravagant,
Mhm.
something way more than the situation would normally allow.
Or the
So,
exact thing
Sharon,
that you wanted.
yes, yes. So, Sharon will be back another time.
Mhm.
I will definitely be having her back time and time again. The woman is a wealth of information, a wealth of support. Check out Surviving Together, and also check out her second channel, Surviving the Cracks. She's on that channel with Jen Marie, and they talk about, again, surviving through traumatic, major traumatic events. So, tell me a little bit more about Surviving the Cracks.
Actually, Surviving the Cracks is our anti channel. We're still trying
Oh,
to get it off the ground, so there's really not much there right
ah,
now. Jen has had
she's
some,
been busy.
yeah, she's had some and scheduling. She's working like 11 to 7, so it's kind of a difficult time. So on the
Yeah,
days off, but we're going to try. It's going to be everything that our channels aren't. So it's going to be all the fun stuff. It's going to be the silly stuff. It's going to be, the place where you can come and decompress.
yeah,
And when you see Jen and I together, she's my sister that I never had. We just are two peas in a pod for some reason, and we just make each other laugh like crazy. So
that's
that's
wonderful.
what it will be. Um,
Awesome.
and for my channel, you can find it, if you're on YouTube, you have to go at Surviving Together, SASS. Just
Hmm.
Surviving Together was taken. So we
Mm,
added SASS, and that's why if you come and you are watching any of our lives or watching on replay, you are part of the SAS community. So
sass. I'm sassy.
exactly, you're sassy. And also, I was like, uh, sexual assault survivors support. It's kind of where
There
that
you
came,
go.
came from. But then I'm like, ooh, sass, I like that. And it
All
wasn't
right.
taken. So,
Exact. Perfect.
yep.
Perfect. All right. So thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, replay crew. We need you. We adore you. Please like and subscribe if you want. But as well, add to the comments. I
Hmm.
definitely look at the comments afterward and I make sure that it may not be immediately, but I will definitely get back to you, especially if you have something that you need answered.
Hmm.
So you can either email me at myotherskeeperis@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment on the video for myself or for Sharon Mack. And I'm sure she will be able to take a look and follow the comments as well. So thank you very much. I will see you on Thursday. And we are going to be talking to Crystal, our erstwhile guest, who is here every now and again. Um, and she is a survivor as well. She is a young woman who has been through more than pretty close to anybody else I know.
Hmm.
And so she is a wealth of information. We will be talking about her part 4. So, as an adult, where has she gone? What has taken place? And all of that sort of thing. So, that's what
Wonderful.
we'll be talking about on Thursday. So, I look forward to seeing you, and I'll talk to you again. Bye.
Bye, guys.